it's Carter and welcome to my channel. I have a new format where I'll be reacting to and giving my opinion on Tesla, tech, and finance related content. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about it. The first topic with a lot of buzz is the new Build Back Better Act that passed in the House. This is something many of us as EV fans have been waiting for and watching super closely. So today I'm going to break down that act and what it could mean for 2022. Make sure to stay to the end as well because I have some exciting news to announce. The Build Back Better Act framework was officially announced by President Biden in late October of this year. The act does not just include the EV tax credit, but that's what I'm going to focus on for this video. This act has now passed in the House, but the process is still not over yet. The bill still needs to then become a law by getting through the Senate, back to the House, and then sent back to President Biden to be signed by the end of the year. Now here is what you need to know about the act. Number one, the car must be acquired on January 1st of 2022 or later. Second, the tax credit is refundable. 3, the amount will be anywhere from $7,500 to $8,000 for a Tesla. Number 4, there is a vehicle cap at 1 vehicle per taxpayer per tax year. And 5, there is an income cap, which is $500,000 if you're married or joint, and $250,000 if you're single. There is a caveat to this, and you can still get a tax credit if you make more than these numbers, but the tax credit amount will be less depending on your actual income amount that's over the income cap. And then 6, there are vehicle MSRP limits. The limits include $80,000 for vans, $80,000 for SUVs, $80,000 for trucks, and $55,000 for sedans. This means that the Model 3 and Y do qualify, but that the Model S and X do not qualify for the tax credit. Another interesting addition to this act is that the tax credit could also apply to used vehicles. The credit for used cars is around $2,000. There is a sale price cap though at $25,000, and the car must be 2 or more years old. This type of credit can also only be claimed every 3 years. There are also income caps for this tax credit, which is $150,000 married or joint and $75,000 single. And the next caveat is that the car credit must be the first transfer of the car, other than the original purchaser. I hope this helps break down what is currently outlined in the Build Back Better Act. After going through all the information, I think that the $7,500 to $8,000 is super generous, as well as the income cap being at $500,000 married or $250,000 single. Just to put this in perspective, according to the 24-10 rule, so 20% to put as a down payment, 4 for the 4-year payment, and then 10, which is 10% of what you actually should be spending on like expenses like your car loan and your insurance. So basically this will help you determine your budget. So for a $55,000 car, that means you should make at least $120,000 a year to be able to afford around $1,000 payment a month on your car. Yes, you can totally still buy it if you make less than that, but that's just following the very strict rule of the 24-10 rule. If you're interested, feel free to check it out online. I'll also put a link to it down below in case you're interested in learning more about this rule. I also think this is interesting to make the MSRP caps very close to the actual MSRPs of the Teslas. So this will most likely make Tesla not be able to raise their MSRPs above the cap so that their cars are still eligible for the tax credit. Because of the high demand of Teslas, I can see Tesla raising their deposit to make sure their buyer is serious. I can imagine that Tesla wants to know the exact number of cars to manufacture in order to ramp up their production accordingly. Now on to the used car tax credit. I like this and how they included it, but I also don't think it's very practical for Teslas. There is a $25,000 sales cap and there can only be one owner previously. And at this point, most used Teslas are in high demand and are going for way more than $25,000. This could be appropriate for other used EVs, but just does not seem feasible for Teslas at this time. I'm looking forward to seeing how this act progresses over the next few months, and we'll keep you updated on what you guys need to know. Next up, I found an article from Consumer Reports that ranked the most satisfying cars on the market. All Teslas made this list as most satisfying, along with, let's see, the Kia Telluride, the Mazda MX-5 Miata. That one I'm not surprised about. The Lincoln Aviator, Toyota Prius. Definitely not surprised about that one because I feel like everyone who owns a Tesla or a Prius, they just never get rid of it. I feel like they've had that Prius for years and they still love it. And then the Jeep Gladiator. That one's interesting. That one's pretty new, so interesting it made this list. But yes, the Model 3, Model S, Model Y, and Model X all made the list. This survey was supposedly done on the first 3 years of ownership, so before all of the issues could crop up, and usually most cars are still under warranty at that time. But I do think Teslas are on here because they do have a cult-like following. When you own a Tesla, you get into the entire lifestyle of having a Tesla, being part of that group, and it's hard to go back. I mean, as a Tesla owner myself, I loved that Tesla. I loved it. There's just something about it that I have never felt with another car before. It just felt like nothing else. I think the infotainment system too for me was the best that I have seen, and it was just so simple, and it had a huge screen and something that I haven't had on previous cars, so it definitely would be hard to go to another car after owning a Tesla. Now the list also says let's see how they worded it, the least satisfying cars. So some of these are the Mazda CX-3, Nissan Kicks, Infiniti QX60, Infiniti QX50, Jeep Compass, Nissan Pathfinder, Chevy Trax, Infiniti Q50, Ford EcoSport, Toyota CHR. Now what I find really interesting about this list are most of them are those like small SUVs, and I owned one of these actually on this list, which was the Toyota CHR, and I really didn't like that car. I'm sorry if you guys own that car. Nothing against the car or Toyota. I think Toyotas are great cars, which is why I bought it. But I really didn't like the car. In this particular case, it's not a sedan, but it's not a full-size SUV. So you're hoping it has more space than a sedan, which is usually why you would buy it. But it really doesn't. And a lot of the space, at least in my CHR, wasn't functional. And I would say I had a ton of blind spots in that car. I don't know why they made it that way, but it just seemed like I could never see out of like the back sides of it or the back. It just wasn't designed well, and I really didn't like it. So I got rid of it pretty quickly just because it didn't end up fitting what I was hoping it would do, and I wanted a little bit bigger of a car at that time. This was, mind you, a few years ago, but I did own that car, and I can see why they all make this list as least satisfying, because they don't really fit into their own category. They're like trying to be two different cars, like categories, the sedans and the SUVs, but they're not really either one. Some of the cars that I would have thought were on the most satisfying list aren't, which is also really interesting. Some of these are like the Jeep Wrangler or the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I feel like Jeeps have this tribe as well, very similar to that of Tesla. And people who buy Jeeps just like love their Jeep. But the only one that made it on the list from Jeep was actually the Jeep Gladiator. So really strange. I wonder why those didn't get higher marks. Another car that I'm surprised that didn't make the list is the Ford F-150, since it is the most popular car in the United States. I see them all over the road. They're everywhere. And so you would think that those people buying that car love it, but I guess it didn't make this list, which is interesting. I wonder how they graded it. And then some of the least satisfying cars I'm interested, like I can't believe didn't make it, are like the Mini Cooper. I feel like when you buy one of those, you're like, wow, the space is a lot less than you envisioned. Same with like a Beetle, any kind of like VW Beetle. I think they're so cute, both of those cars, but I can see why that they wouldn't fit exactly what you were looking for. So next I found this article on Reddit. So this one's a little bit more in the finance department, but I just thought it was interesting to talk about. He basically says that he won $379,000 at the casino after taxes. And he said he's 23 years old, he works 2 jobs. He apparently works as a manager of a casino at night and a bank in the morning. So he's been working 80-hour weeks with little sleep to help pay off his $100,000 debt. And so he also has a 2-year-old daughter. So he was asking for advice on how to spend this money. And then he did give a little bit on how he thought he would spend it. So I'll just read that directly from the post. So he said out of the $379,000, he was going to take $200,000 to the brokerage account. So he said he'll never touch it and he hopes it will compound for retirement. $20,000 in the daughter's college fund, who is 2 years old, $38,000 on a car, $50,000 to his parents because he puts in parentheses that he knows that they're in a lot of debt. And then finally, $71,000 left over for him to live off of and save for future investments. So let's start, I'll just go in order about what he was asking for. So the $200,000 to the brokerage account, that's money he will never touch. Now, I think this should be the max amount possible. So I think he should put the max amount of the $379,000 into some kind of investment. Now, I don't know, it doesn't look like he has a financial advisor. It looks like he's possibly looking for one. And he said, let's see. Oh yeah, he says that they're gonna prepare a presentation for him on Tuesday. Honestly, find yourself a really great financial advisor who's a fiduciary. That's what I would do to make sure that they're only acting in your best interest. I also would never use a financial advisor unless you have a connection with them, you know someone who's used them. I personally would not use one unless I knew a lot of other people, or at least someone who truly respects and trusts this person. This is someone who's going to take a lot of your money and put it into different accounts, and you want to know exactly what's happening with your money, and you also want to make sure that it's going to grow. So this is a place that you should spend a lot of time in finding the right partner for this. So then next up we have the $20,000 in the daughter's college fund, and she's 2. This seems a little high to me. $20,000 in your college fund at 2. I don't know, I wouldn't prioritize this, to be honest. I think it sounds like he has 2 different jobs and he's working really hard to make a lot of money. But it sounds to me like he needs to invest in himself if he wants a different type of job. It doesn't seem like from his post, that he was very interested in that casino job anymore, and then he wanted something 9 to 5. So instead of taking that money, the $20,000, and putting it immediately in his daughter's college fund, I think taking maybe $5,000 and putting it in there, and I would take the other $15,000 and invest it in yourself. Go back to school, find a really great career that you're gonna love and be passionate about, but more importantly, something that's going to be able to meet your financial goals, because he did mention that he was not financially happy with where he was, and based on his income, so he did have to work 2 jobs and 80-hour weeks to be able to make enough money. So I would say invest in yourself. Go start that business that you've been wanting to start. Go back to school if you need to finish your college degree. Or like go to a tech startup, or try to learn coding, some kind of one of those startup programs that are pretty quick within the accelerators or something like that. I would do that, and or learn a trade, and just make sure that whatever you're gonna do next, you're using that money to set you up for the future, because then you're gonna be able to make an income that then can support your college fund for your 2-year-old. So then the next one is the $38,000 on a car. Okay, I hate this. I hate when people put cars in their, like what they're gonna buy after they win money. No, like if you can't buy a $38,000 car right now, you should not be buying a $38,000 car after you win some money. A car is not an investment. Well, unless you bought a Tesla last year and then you sold it right now. But I mean, it's really not. So you shouldn't be doing that, and he should spend the least amount possible on that car if he can't afford a car at the moment. Or just keep whatever he had. I mean, clearly he has another car, And then if it's okay, I mean, it can still not be the most beautiful car in the world, but that's not the point. So the point is just to get him into a financially healthy state. And a car is really not an investment at all. So I would say scratch the car. If you truly need a mode of transportation, go for like a used Civic, something like that, that's just gonna do the job and be cheaper on repairs. And then we have one that is the $50,000 to your parents that are in debt. You know, this one's tough. We all love our parents and we don't want to see them struggling. I mean, I get that. That's really hard to watch them financially struggle. But to give people money who are already poor with money is not going to help them get out of the situation that they are in currently. So I don't advocate for this personally. I mean, if you feel like this is like the one thing you have to do for them, I mean, I'm not the person to tell you what to do with your money, but if this was me, I would not be doing that. I would, if they needed a fridge, I would buy them a fridge. If they needed an AC unit, I would buy them the AC unit. But I would not be just handing them over a chunk of money for them to supposedly pay off their debt. I think this is really difficult because when people mishandle money, they often don't know what the right thing to do with money is. And so you're gonna put them back in that situation where they have this money again, and they might make a poor decision, and then it could hurt your relationship again. Or they could come back and maybe be hoping that you're gonna give them more. So I think it just puts the whole family in just such an awkward position. So I would say if they need things, if they need shelter, if they need heat, if they need cool, like food, totally go buy them those things. Go give them the necessities, go buy it for them, and then go give it to them. I wouldn't give them the money to then go buy it. So it just creates an environment that's a little bit healthier for everyone involved so that they don't feel too like you're just handing them over money. Another thing about giving your parents $50,000 is, yes, that money is $50,000 right now, but if you put that into stocks or an investment, then that money could turn into $1 million by the time you're ready to retire. So instead of giving your parents just $50,000, you're actually giving them $1 million potentially of your retirement money. So I wouldn't think about it as the $50,000. I would think about it long term and what it could do for you and your family moving forward throughout the years. And then the final one is $71,000 left for him to live off of and save for future investments. Save for future investments, that money should be invested right now. So I do not think that he should have $71,000 sitting in his bank account. That is wasted money. It should totally be in some sort of investment account. That money needs to be growing. So he doesn't have the ability or the leisure or the excess money to be able to leave that kind of cash in his bank account. I don't leave that kind of money in my bank account. I don't want $71,000 sitting there unless I know I'm going to use it for like a down payment on a house or to buy a car outright, something like that. But I really don't suggest having him live off of $71,000. You need to live off of whatever your salary is. So he should act like this money doesn't exist unless he wants to use that $71,000 to pay off like any kind of debt that he has. I am totally an advocate for that. So if he wants to take that $71,000 and pay off his $15,000 credit card bills, do that. Totally agree with that. But do not take that $71,000 and be like, oh, well, now I can get a nicer apartment and spend a little bit more on rent. No. Stay in the apartment you're in now. And then take whatever money is left over after you've paid off all of your debts and invest it. Just go invest the money. The money needs to be sitting away from you and you gotta act like it doesn't even exist. And just keep carrying on your life like you never won anything. And that is the way to grow your money. So that's what I would personally do with his $379,000. I'd invest it. I'd go find myself a really great financial planner. If I was not someone who knew anything about stocks, I would go find someone who does. Go find the best, take your time, make sure they're a fiduciary, do your homework on that before. I mean, don't rush into anything. The money is safer in your account sitting there than in the hands of someone who has though maybe not the best intentions with your money. So that's what I would do. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys agree. So now for the final segment of my channel is going to be Ask Carter. So if you guys want to send in your questions, I will answer them at the end of each video that I make every single week. So you will find the email address down below in the description, but it's just askcarterquestions@gmail.com. Feel free to send in your question, and I will answer it anonymously at the end of the show. But for today, I'm not going to answer your question. Well, maybe I am answering your question, but it's basically, what's the big secret about why I sold my Tesla? And many of you were correct that I am pregnant. So we found out months ago, and I was very sick for my first trimester, which is why I stopped making videos for, I think it was a month. I was so sick. I couldn't get out of bed or the couch, and a lot was going on. I also had an employee at work who left, so I had to also cover her job until we hired someone to fill that position. So there was just so many moving parts, and so that's why I ended up stopped making videos for just a little bit. But yes, I am pregnant. I am, I think, 19 weeks when you guys are watching this video, so I am due in April, and we're really excited about it. So I'm happy I can finally share with you guys, but the Tesla just was a little too small for us. We did have some issues with it. If you're interested in learning about the main issue, feel free to take a look at my TikTok. It's just Carter Jones Tesla, but I did a video on it on TikTok. It's nothing special, but it's basically our Tesla flooded a little bit. So that wasn't great, and I loved it, but it just wasn't right for our time in our life. So anyways, that is why we sold it. I hope you guys enjoyed this new format. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and I'm just so excited to keep making you guys some really cool videos. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.